Let's talk OLED versus mini LED, because this is sick. Okay, so today, it's a big day. Downstairs, we've literally got the latest technology in consumer TVs that makes TVs, bigger TVs, more affordable. The one problem is that I just don't know how we're going to get it home. So on here, I have got a few HDMI cables and a 4K HDMI splitter, because basically what I want to try and do is get the exact same content on both of these TVs at the same time, so you can see the differences in the technology. So basically, with this mini LED tech, compared to the previous standard, which was LED, what we're trying to basically achieve here is the rich contrast and the dark blacks that you get from an OLED. And the reason why an OLED can create these dark blacks is because every single pixel on the screen on an OLED has its own light source, literally every single tiny little pixel. So why would you even consider getting a mini LED over an OLED if the picture is just overall better on the OLED? And I'll tell you why. The main reason is pricing. So this here is a 75-inch panel. As you can see, I'm sat right next to it and it literally dwarfs me. Another main one is because LEDs tend to be brighter. So if you're putting your TV next to, let's say, some bifold doors or a big window that's south-facing, you may want to consider getting an LED TV because it will be considerably brighter than pretty much any OLED you can find without breaking the bank. Okay, so USB at the top. Let's move down here. We've got two HDMIs which look like standard ones, and then we've got two more HDMIs which are actually eARC with 4K at 120 Hertz. And obviously we've got our Toslink out there for, let's say, a soundbar or a receiver. Two more USB ports there. We've got cable and satellite in, and then obviously a hardwired LAN port for you connecting it to your internet. They've got rid of the buttons that are joined together on the top here. I think it looks much more modern, but then funnily enough, they've joined together both the channel and volume buttons. But overall, I like this remote. It looks much more modern, even though it kind of is the same thing. We've got the A7R connected via a 4K HDMI splitter to both of these TVs. Down here, what we've gone ahead and done is installed a black backdrop with a contrasting white piece on it. Now, if we go over here and take a look at the OLED TV, you will see that, well, as soon as we finish with the edge of the trackpad here and it goes onto the darkness of the background, there is no bleed whatsoever. It is literally these pixels right here are on and these pixels are off. Whereas on the mini LED TV over here, now we really are exaggerating this. You can see here that we have what's called a little bit of bleed. So the actual white from the edge of the trackpad here is actually bleeding over into other areas that aren't white, i.e. the black around the trackpad. And I would say it's probably visible for about 1 inch, whereas with previous versions of LED tech, that would have been even more exaggerated. We're talking maybe 4 or 5 inches here of pixels lit up that don't even need to be lit up. Now, this is a really extreme example, and I want you guys to know that we've only done this to show you and demonstrate the differences between OLED and mini LED. So I've jumped into a game of Apex Legends. Now obviously one thing is putting a black and white image on the screen and seeing the halo. Does it even make a difference? Now, as you can see, when you're sat here playing games and looking at both of the screens, there really isn't that much of a difference between them, to be honest with you. Obviously, we've really exaggerated this with our previous test, but looking at actual footage and playing games, there's no difference. Absolutely no difference. The TV is in its game mode, both of them are. It was important to note actually that on the newer model, we actually had some newer game options. You could tell it what type of game you were playing, i.e. RPG or FPS, different things like that. But the response times on both seem to be pretty much identical as far as I can tell. Like there's no noticeable difference from switching between playing on one TV and playing on the other. If anything, I'd say the picture from the LED panel, the mini LED panel, is a little bit warmer and nicer to look at on the eyes. It's a much more soothing image than maybe coming from a harsher OLED. But I really am trying to nitpick here. There really isn't much in this at all, except for a huge difference in the cost. Okay, so we've loaded up some John Wick 3 here because there's a lot of dark action scenes going on. And one thing that sprung to mind after sort of 5 minutes of sat here watching is that there is more detail in the darker areas of the scene on the OLED compared to the mini LED. I think what's happening with the mini LED tech is it's seeing that there's an area of a dark image and it is completely turning that off, almost as if it's trying to mimic being an OLED more than it should. One thing that I thought was going to be a bit of an issue would be the black bars on the top of a film, but I can't see whilst watching this any sort of black coming above or below the actual picture screen itself. And I actually think that the LED tech gives a bit more of a cinematic and a smooth image. Like I said, exactly with the gaming, it just looks a little bit harsher over there on the OLED. So with that being said, the benefits here with the mini LED are richer and more accurate colors with an all-round more immersive experience with 100% color consistency and those crazy viewing angles. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're placing this thing next to a south-facing window, you will benefit from the extra light output. But there you guys have it. Those are the differences between mini LED, a TV in 2022, and an OLED from 2021, from last year. Let us know what you think. Do you think the price difference is enough to sway people from actually getting an OLED and just having full-on rich blacks or no blacks on pixels that aren't lit? What would you do? Let us know down in the comments, guys. But for now, my name's been Alex. This has been the LG Mini LED TV, and we will see you in the next one.